Hello and welcome to my video guide for the Okami New Game Any% Beginner's Route. If you have not already seen the start of this series, I recommend you start there. There will be a playlist linked in the description, which explains just about everything that you need to know. This is a companion for my text guide, which is also linked in the description. And to get things started, we are resuming after having just defeated Blight and completed the Imperial Palace and rescued Kaguya. And the goal today is to cover everything through the end of Oni Island, if possible. So right off, after we talk to Kaguya twice, we're going to be going to the right here and going straight to this mermaid spring. And then we're going to travel to Sasa Sanctuary. You should just be able to tap up twice, or hold up until the meter switches twice. And then we're going to go and do the second digging minigame. Now, before you do the minigame, I do strongly recommend you save outside of Sasa Sanctuary, just like before the first digging minigame, because this one's rather difficult. In fact, this is a lot more complicated than the first one, and it's a lot easier to mess up. But I'm going to hopefully show you the correct ways to do it right now. We're just going to run straight up to the bamboo grove in the back. And then before we hit their trigger, we're going to jump right around here, and then press start and use an infinity stone. This part is very important because the infinity stone is necessary in order to do this part of the digging minigame quickly. As soon as we land here, we're going to CB on the left block, and then use Gale Storm in order to bring Kaguya over without having to wait for her to walk. And this is why we need the Infinity Stone, because using these two items together, or these two brush powers together, consumes a lot of ink very quickly. This part is probably the most difficult part timing-wise. You need to GS loop her as she's falling, but before she falls down to this block. If she does fall down, like if you do the GS loop too late or too early, then you'll need to blow up these two blocks and then use a water spout pillar to get her over. And that can be rather frustrating because there's a lot of things that can go wrong there. So just try to do your best not to miss the timing there. But if you do, again, just blow up this block, water spout, loop, use a Gale Storm loop to get her over off of the water spout over to here, and then follow her as quickly as you can. Note that you have to destroy this block because you can't ride the water spout pillar, unlike Kaguya, and unlike in normal gameplay for some reason. So you'll have to blow up this block so that you can jump over through this opening. From here, we can just power slash these three, and then once again we're going to continue looping her over. You want to water spout pillar here before you loop, because if you loop right after doing the water spout pillar, she'll actually ride it up quicker, rather than getting stuck in the water and potentially turning around. And then you don't need to make her go faster here, you can just loop her from the far right to the left. And that's how you do that digging minigame. Feel free to consult the text guide or review the video. After here we have 4 cutscenes to skip. And then we're just gonna head out. So the purpose of doing that is to get the fire tablet. That's what Kaguya gives you during one of those 4 cutscenes. We need the fire tablet in order to cross over the lava pool to get to Queen Himiko. That is, of course, unless we were doing fire tablet skip, in which case we could entirely skip the sunken ship and the Imperial Palace, which the whole purpose of that is to rescue Kaguya. Well, primarily, anyway. From here, before you use your mermaid coin, you actually want to go and equip the fire tablet as well as the peace bell if you got it, because now is the best time. Now is when you would need them, and you have the pause screen open anyway, so you may as well. And then we're just going to tap down twice and go straight back to the aristocratic quarter of Seon. from here. If you forgot to equip the fire tablet, equip it now. Otherwise, just go on. Jump over here, and we're going to go into the palace walls. The best time to do Veil of Mist is right about now, so that you don't get caught by the guards. And then just jump into Queen Himiko's palace. Now, Himiko's palace, the interior of it, is a separate area, so you can't dash restore into here. So just tackle to get to the elevator quicker. As we get to the top of this elevator, there'll be a scroll in front of us, which explains how to equip artifacts, or the tools like the fire tablet. You can either jump over this, and it might save like a fraction of a second if you do it consistently. I think it's easy to just collect it in the first place, so that's not in your way later, and just swim over the lava. Then we have several doors to get through, and we can go talk to Queen Himiko. Make sure you jump right around here, because this is a pretty long area and you want to conserve dash through it. From here we can do a tackle jump to get close to Himiko, and then we just talk to her a bunch, just like we did with Rao, mashing, confirm, and skip. And after 2 confirms, this being the second one, we can leave. As you approach the door here, there'll be another Isun trigger, so just jump. And then, to avoid losing your dash to this camera switch, which is a full 180, just do a tackle through the door until the camera switches. From here, after we get to this segment, there's going to be 3 more doors after you get to the area with the lighter colored floors. 1, 2, 3, and then jump. And if you do your jumps perfectly, then you can get over here without swimming in the lava, which is called reverse fire tablet skip. It barely saves time, so you don't have to go for it, but I guess it's good practice if you ever anticipate doing the full fire tablet skip route. From here, there's another camera switch here that we can conserve dash through. After talking to Queen Himiko, you should be able to, or we can now go to North Rio, which the fastest way to get there is going to be to go through the Mermaid Spring. That's not supposed to happen. Well, regardless, just do your best to use Veil of Mist to stun the guards. So we're just going to head left here, go to the Mermaid Spring. This is faster than leaving Seon manually by like a minute, so if you forget, it's not the end of the world, but do try to remember to use the Mermaid Spring here. From here, we're just going to talk to the guards. And he should open up the gate. Now we'll be in North Rio. Isun's going to talk here after this camera pan. Then tackle short distance and jump for Waka. And then once again we're going to get interrupted by... It's a bit farther away than I thought. A fight trigger. So this is what we need Rao's XM for, this wind nose. Yeah, otherwise it takes too long to defeat it. Well, not a huge amount of time, but it's slow. There's no cutscene after this, so you can just jump through the barrier. And then we're just going to take a straight line to the merchant here, avoiding these scrolls. If you have the peace bell, they won't chase you. If you don't have the peace bell and it's nighttime, they will chase you, which means you have to take a wider path around them, which is part of why the peace bell helps. From here, we're going to make a short shopping trip. We need to buy a fish, 1 XM, we need 1 more, but only if you, this is mostly a safety thing. So the fight that we would use it for, we can actually skip it. However, it's not the most, well, it's a rather reliable skip, I would say. It's not that hard. I'm going to skip it here, but if it's in your first few runs and you're not used to the skip that I'm going to show later, I would buy 1 just for safety, and then you can throw it away later. So we're just going to buy 3 XLs as well, which we will need later. Those you can't skip. And we're going to talk to Ryoshima here. If it's still night at this point, it shouldn't make much of a difference, but it will cause us to see an extra cutscene in a moment. You don't need to talk to Ryoshima again, just go straight right here and go between his house and this tree, and then once you're past here, jump and then draw a sun. Sun. Do your best to draw a circle. Once it turns day, there'll be another cutscene for Orca. From here you can do a tackle, jump, and an air tackle in order to get onto him without swimming. But if you do end up swimming, just jump onto him, it's not a big deal. Then we're going to start swimming right here. In this case we're going to be mashing B to go faster. You don't have to mash it very quickly, but it's sort of weird the cycle that it works on, so I just mash it about this pace. Ethan's going to talk to you here about halfway through, or well, most of the way through. As soon as you touch the island, you can press A to talk and then get off Orca. And if you did everything correctly, you should still have dash here, because you can conserve dash through Orca. If you want to practice the trick I'm about to show, I would recommend making a save here, or after you see the intro cutscene for Catcall Tower, then coming back out, making a save here before you do the fight. So we're going to see the intro cutscene here. And then we're going to skip Isun's talking. Now, the fight trigger is right about here. The way I gauge where it is based on this slightly lighter colored patch of ground. It's sort of like a horizontal line here. So you don't go past that point, and try to be a bit conservative here. Basically, the fight trigger is a rectangle extending from one edge, this route here to this route here, but we can actually get over this route without touching the trigger and then walk around the trigger to get to the tower, and that skips a rather short fight. But this trigger does prevent you from having to buy an XM, which saves some money, and it saves a bit of time. So we're going to align ourselves facing this way, next to that light patch of ground, and then we're going to do a tackle jump over this route here. With a double jump, by the way. I forgot to mention that. So, Cookie Jar has a pretty good video of this, which is going to be linked in the text guide. But from here, we just need to take a sort of wide path around. I go just around this area here where these two lines of light colored ground intersect, and then just go directly to the tower. From here, the path up the tower is rather difficult to memorize, and there's a few different paths you can take up. So I'm not going to tell you the exact path because it's written in the text guide, and I also have a layout map in a spreadsheet of where the walkable ground is on the tower. I might actually not do the exact optimal path here. How about this? I'm going to bring up my map, and I'm going to follow the exact path just so I have it recorded somewhere. So to start with, we're on the south side, and this tower, despite what it appears to be on the map, it appears to be an octagon, but it's actually, for the sake of where the marks of Kabegami can be, it's a hexagon. So there's 6 sides. There's a south side, a north side, and then east and west sides for both of those, for 6 total. We're going to start on the east side of the east edge of the south side, and we're just going to jump up. Now, the best way to jump up the tower is to do a jump out and then a jump back in, and then you immediately repeat. So this is very strenuous on your thumbs, because you're going to be mashing the jump button about 200 times on your way up the tower. So do your best to get into a rhythm of back, jump, 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 and then like rapidly tap, jump twice again. You can see on the controller cam what my rhythm is. When you get to these points, you can actually air tackle while you're on the tower. If you do it to either side, you can do a very horizontal jump with a lot of momentum. And there are some times where you need to do that if you're not following the path correctly. or even if you are following the path correctly, and if you're not, then you might end up having to do it more often, but it's not a big deal. From here, we're on the I guess the south edge of the northeast side, and we're going to keep going east until we get to the north side, which from here we're going to be continuing to go a bit farther east until we get past this red line where the first platform is. At this point we should be on the west side of the north side, the west edge of the north side, and we're going to get onto the northwest face, which here we are now. And then from here we're going to be getting even farther to the right, and we're just going to follow this all the way up. And then after the stone platform there, we're going to be going right again. Right about here you will probably need to do an air tackle, or a ground tackle, technically. From here, once we're at this platform, we should be on, yes, the southeast side. So we're actually going to start going left for the first time here, until we get to the southwest side. You can also, off the parts of the wall that aren't covered by marks of Kabigami, you can do wall jumps, which also get you a lot of horizontal momentum. Then from the southwest side, we're going to be going back to southeast. And then we're going to be going back to the south side briefly. And then after that, we're just going to be basically holding right all the way up the tower until we get to roughly, well, basically the top of the tower, pretty much. If you got up to the top of the tower without touching any of the cloud platforms, or any of the platforms at all, then you'll see that cutscene where you get the stray bead chest. If you did touch any of the platforms, you won't get that cutscene, so overall it doesn't waste that much time either way. Because touching any of the platforms causes Issun to talk to you, which does take up about the same amount of time. From here, we're going to be getting up these spiral staircases. The camera here is very annoying. It doesn't behave very well. So the best way to get up these is just mash tackle with a slight angle to your control stick so that you follow the curve of the staircase. From here, we're just going to jump into this trigger, where we see the cat. And this is what the cat food is for. Now, fortunately, we can just feed these guys by pressing A next to them, so you can just mash bark as you approach, and then feed it with a fish. This first cutscene you can skip, and then there's this constellation, which is kind of annoying because the exact placements of the stars is not very apparent, but they're roughly here. This one's pretty forgiving, but it can also be annoying. After this, you have to hold fast text, and then you have to draw some marks of Kabigami. You have to use catwalk, basically. Unfortunately, Issun is very annoying here. If you just draw a straight line up, he'll complain at you that you didn't draw enough marks for some reason, even though it would be perfectly fine anywhere else. So I just draw like a big loop like this, and he's usually okay with that. From there, we can just leave. We're going to be using the mermaid spring that's conveniently on top of the tower. And you can avoid having to go down these by using jumps off of them. The mermaid spring is right here, and we're going to take this all the way back to Ryoshima Coast, which, if I remember correctly, is going to be up to. Yep, and that takes us to Ryoshima. At this point, if it's not nighttime, which it happens to be nighttime right now, if it's not nighttime, crescent, and then just talk to the guard. Maybe you should crescent after talking to the guard, because they seem to look at the crescent for a while. Back in North Rio, we're just going to head up to Watcher's Cape now that we have Catcall. This is pretty much the main reason we need Catcall. There's a couple other places later where we do need it, but it's not something that comes up often. On your way here, you should be able to conserve dash here, but I messed it up. We're going to skip a big fight trigger that's over there, where we have to fight a blue ogre, which is a rather slow enemy to fight. So you're just going to jump here and then get a bit down on the cape. You're going to have to do this fight skip twice, but it's a lot easier than some of the other tricks you'll have to do twice. While you're on your way down here, just draw a star for this man, and his wish makes the spiral galaxy appear. If you did everything correctly, you should also still have dash here, but again, it's difficult to explain everything at once. Jump here. And then don't go all the way to that platform there, just get between these pillars here and do a Hailstorm loop. And then do 2 more. From here we're going to go backwards and so that we can get to the pier to get to Orca. From here, jump about halfway down, and then you should be able to land on the other side. As long as you have the peace bell, it shouldn't be too hard to make it over to Orca. Then we're just going to hold left this time instead of right and make our way to the whirlpool. No, that's not non-stop. Jump into that one. This is an interior, so we can restore dash here. And we can also restore dash through this elevator. The camera's a bit weird here, so just like double jump right around here into this cutscene. Tackle to get closer to Autohime. Mash. And then here we actually want to say no, because otherwise they're going to talk to us in a cycle forever. Then we can start mash and confirm and skip already. And at that point, after the second confirm, we can just leave. He's going to talk to us here. It's still possible to conserve dash here, but the camera is very wonky. Get out of the elevator. Don't get stuck on the pillar. And talk to this lady. She'll open the door for you, and then we can go to inside the dragon. Now this area is one of the main reasons we get the peace bell. There's some narrow hallways with some aggressive blue scrolls here, and they're rather annoying to deal with, so the peace bell does definitely help here, but it's still optional. You can avoid the blue scrolls if you're careful. This clam here actually has a Holy Bone S. If you used yours, or if you forgot, somehow didn't get it, then you could get that one, but you can also use a health refill. Either way, you're going to need some way to restore health. If you don't have the peace bell, you're going to want to be careful about how you move around this guy. If you jump off of the pier, then, or off of this platform, he won't chase you. Here you want to make sure you're on top of this pillar first and then get on it, because otherwise swimming up of it takes way too long. You could save here if you're worried about soft blocking, because it's technically possible to soft block here, but it's very unlikely. Double jump up here and then jump into the trigger. Yep, sorry about that. Then there's another trigger right in front of it, so just jump into that as well. Or you can just tackle once or twice. From here, there's going to be another weird camera change, so like do some jumps here to try and avoid losing a dash. My dog is upset. Once you get here, skip, and then we need to hit this thing 3 times. Unfortunately, it's sort of like cherry bomb fights where it has an invulnerability period, sort of. Right away after the first cutscene, the cutscene makes it wait long enough. But after the second water spout, you need to wait a fraction of a second before you do it a 3rd time. And then we've released the acid. So here's the part where you need to be kind of careful. So basically, we need to swim across this acid. You're not intended to actually swim through the acid, you're intended to use lily pad, but we never got lily pad. So the best way to do this, we just barely have enough breath to make it over, but unlike other water, in addition to having a breath meter, swimming in this acid constantly saps your actual health, and you'll die faster than you run out of breath. So while we have enough breath, we don't have enough health to make it over. So we're going to need to use a health refill about halfway through. And that's what the Holy Bone S is for. If you don't have a Holy Bone S, you can get the one that was in the beginning of the dungeon, but if you didn't, you can use a health refill here with praise, because we do have enough praise for that. It just helps to be able to save that for later, since we get a free Holy Bone S in the Imperial Palace anyway. Once you're here, do a tackle jump, double jump, and then air tackle to get as much distance as you can, and then mash jump, because you really need to mash here. About here, once you start running out of health, press start. This is a good time to either upgrade your health if you don't have the Holy Bone S. You can also use this as an opportunity to upgrade your wallet, but we can also leave that for later if you'd prefer. Personally, out of a force of habit, I usually end up filling my wallet here because this is the best place to do it in more advanced routes. But we can leave it for a recommended point later, which I'm going to do for now since this was written in the guide. Use your Holy Bone S or your health upgrade if you have to, and then continue swimming. On your way over, you can, since this also has an invulnerability period, just like the membrane before, we can hit it with the water spout while we're heading over, so that since we head over anyway, it's vulnerable by the time we get to this platform here. And just continue swimming over. If you did everything correctly, you should make it without drowning. If you do drown, you'll respawn all the way back in the platform in that cave, and you'll have to do swim again. And if you don't have another health restore, then it's a soft block because you have no way to get through the acid. And that's what I meant by soft block. You just have no way to progress. So hit this 3 times. And then we're going to skip this cutscene, and that'll start the Toot Fox fight. Now this fight's pretty simple. As soon as the foxes spawn, just use an XL. And then collect the money they have while dashing around. Then 2 more will spawn, and then 3 more will spawn. And we're just trying to collect the money without losing our dash. After that, we can just skip this cutscene, and then we have to leave. Now this segment's kind of prone to RNG because you can't control where the falling droplets of acid will come from. If they hit you, they'll stop you and cause you to lose your dash, and they can hit you in mid-air here. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but we're going to jump down here onto this pillar. Unfortunately I missed the pillar. But you jump down onto that pillar, and then you can jump off of the pillar onto the next platform without having to swim in this water at all, which saves a lot of time. But if you miss that, just get to... Please. Just get to over here, and we're going to move around a bit to avoid some acid. And we're going to get over the other side. Like I said, if you did this successfully, you would be able to jump onto this pillar from over there, and then double jump off of this pillar over here. And that saves a bunch of time swimming. But unfortunately I missed the jump, even though I didn't get hit by the acid. If you're unlucky, you can get hit by the acid while you're in midair, which completely fails the trick regardless. After that, it's just a matter of running straight out of the water dragon. You want to skip this cutscene. Then after this, Isun will talk. Or there'll be another cutscene, pretty much. And then Isun talks, but this you can't skip, so you have to hold fast text. Then we're just going to go back to Orihime to tell her that we killed her husband. This trigger's pretty big, so just jump into it. Then skip the cutscene, and it automatically loads you into the elevator. So we can dash restore out of here. And we're going to leave the Dragon Palace. And once again, mash B to, or whatever button you have to make Orca go faster. You can't have store dash here, so just tackle. And once again, Rio and North Rio are separate areas, so tackle. I should mention, you can't use Mermaid Springs during this segment, or any fast travel. Even though it would save time, Isun won't let you. Be careful not to jump down here if you did Ubume skip twice, if you succeeded both times, because the trigger will still be here and you don't want to hit the fight in the middle of the segment. So just go around it. And we're gonna head over to Ankoku Temple. We can skip some cutscene triggers with the Ghost Rao by going to the left here. So wall jump up here, and then basically we're going to jump a bunch up this slope to avoid losing our dash, but it's possible it'll happen regardless. This area has weird collision. Then jump into here, and we're gonna see Ghost Rao disappear into the cliff. Then we can skip Isun's text. And then just jump into the well. Now this secret tunnel here is an interior of Seian, so we can't restore dash from Rio, but we can store dash into Seian. So just jump through. Or dash through. Then there's going to be a camera pan here, where Isun complains. And just restore dash once again. Coming up here, we're going to have the Evil Rao fight. This fight is similar to the Waka fights, where It's just cherry bombs with SFS. So as soon as the fight starts, press start, use your SFS, and put a cherry bomb in her path. Then the thing is, she has a lot of things she can do immediately after getting hit, like out of her stun animation. One of the things she can do is disappear and then appear above you with a stab. If this happens, it's actually good because she remains stunned for a while after doing this. Alternatively, she can do like a dodge roll where she'll like do rolls in the air away from you and then run towards you. During the dodge roll, she's invincible, so that's slow. You prefer her not to do that. But once she starts running towards you again, you can put a cherry bomb in her way, just like at the start of the fight. And then there's a couple other things she can do, but I can't be bothered to remember them, so pretty inconsequential. But if she does a stab, you can just hit her 3 times. It's quite easy. Oh, from here, just hold fast text and mash B, because Eason's going to try to show you the map, but we already saw the map. Oh, another thing. This would have been a good time to use our wallet upgrade, but there's another good time coming up later. It just depends on how much money you have. You don't want to cap out your wallet at 999,999 or 999,99. There's 5 nines. Because any money you get over that is just wasted. So you want to upgrade your wallet before that happens. You could have upgraded your wallet already. It really isn't consequential exactly when you do it, as long as you do it in a time when you'd be using this pause menu anyway, because otherwise you're wasting time opening the pause menu twice. But once again, we have a few more good times to do it later. Here we're actually going to have to leave Seon manually, because once again, Eason's going to prevent us from using fast travel during the segment. So we're just going to have to run straight towards Rao's room. Obviously Rao's not going to be here anymore. If you didn't already get the XM, there's no point in getting it now, so just don't bother. Well, you could get it, but it doesn't make much of a difference. Right here, there's going to be an auto stop. You don't want to jump because you'll hit the gate, so just run directly into these guards and then skip their text. And then dash your store to the right so that we can go to North Rio. And then once again, we're going to make our way to Watcher's Cave the same way we did earlier. In this case, I forgot to mention this before, but on your jump over here, you want to use inner camera because the camera will position itself perfectly to get the catwalk, like right here. And we're going to use the same method for catwalk jumping as we did on Catcall Tower. We have to do the fight skip again. Oop, I messed up. So if you fall down here, which usually happens if you have a bad camera angle, just drown, because you'll respawn on top of the wall, which is where you want to be anyway. You can't get anywhere swimming here, so it's just faster to drown. Unfortunately. Anyway, from here, you want to skip the fight trigger again while maintaining your stored dash, and we're going to jump into the trigger for Autohime, which happens right about here. And skip this cutscene. And then we restore dash to dash across Autohime, who's very long, so it definitely helps to have gold dash here. Eason's gonna talk to you here again, so we're gonna have to mash confirm and start. From here, right at the start here, there's actually a few different things you can do. Interesting sounds. So we need to get over there on top of that pier. The fastest way to do that is going to be to just get Gold Dash right away. So on your run up, you're going to get Gold Dash automatically, and then jump right about here. And if you did that perfectly, you should land on the pier just barely, with the perfect timing for jump, double jump, and air tackle. It definitely takes practice to do that, so make sure you save on the way out of Seian after killing Evil Rao. Because there's also other hard tricks here that we're going to be doing that there's no better time to save before them. I should have mentioned that then, but I'll mention it now. If you didn't make it up here, you'll hit a cutscene trigger when you land down here, where Ethan will tell you about this pool of lava. If you have Inferno, you can water spout the pool of lava, and you get a lava pillar just like you would get a water spout pillar. But only if you have Inferno. And that's the way you'd get up here otherwise. It's also possible to deliberately not go for this harder version of this skip, and instead, from on top of the Orihime, you raise the lava pillar, and then jump onto the lava pillar, which avoids the trigger down there. But I'd say that method is kind of pointless. It doesn't save that much time when you could just try the jump method, which doesn't require any brushes. Anyway, once you're up here, we're not going to go here, because we're actually going to skip half of the dungeon. This is probably one of the hardest tricks in the run. It's definitely easy to lose a lot of time here to messing this up, even if you can do it successfully, because there's a wide span of failure modes. Basically, this is the main reason why you want to save in Seian on your way to Oni Island, because this Oni Island skip, is very difficult. To start off with, we're going to do a rather precise jump, double jump, and then bounce off of the invisible wall here. You want to delay your air tackle, because your double jump goes pretty high, but it takes a little while to reach its absolute peak. And then we're just going to hold left to get over the invisible wall. Once we're stuck here, we can get onto the mountain and we can just go all the way around. If you want to get back out to practice this, you can go under the stairs and then clip back out, similar to the Ryoshima Dojo clip. Other than that, I'm just going to say get onto here. If you still have Gold Dash, then you can actually just dash across this surface and it goes really fast. Otherwise, just do tackle jumps. If you do have any kind of dash at this point, I would recommend letting go of the control stick briefly so that you lose your dash, because your dash actually makes you slip off of the mountain faster, which makes the rest of this trick rather difficult. After around this point, you don't want to be using ground tackles anymore, because they'll actually cause you to slip off of the mountain more easily. Only use ground tackles if you start to lose speed, but try not to use them past the second panel of the mountain. So this is the second, and then I guess I'll use one more here. This is the third panel. Notice this big dark spot here. This is your main visual marker for whether you're doing the trick well. You want to be above this spot on your way over to the fourth panel. One thing that I should mention is, if you do this perfectly, you'll do what's called a green hop, where you just see the green leaves as you land. You want to get as close to you want to press jump as soon as you land, pretty much, but you don't want to mash jump, because otherwise you get very short jumps and you'd slip off the mountain even faster, because even a perfect green hop will slip off the mountain a little bit. At this point, once you're on this fourth panel here, you're going to see the statue of Gekigami, and at this point your goal is to get close to it without slipping down the mountain, so that you can use rejuvenation to restore the arrow on its back, which will teleport you onto this platform, skipping half the dungeon. Unfortunately, if you start slipping down the mountain, then you won't be in range to restore it, or to rejuvenate it. But there's a backup strat, which I'll try to show here. I'll purposely slip down the mountain a bit. But if you're doing this successfully, if you don't want to slip down the mountain, once you get about halfway across this fourth panel, you want to use the inner camera, and then as you approach the statue, once you get to around this point, so fairly close to the statue horizontally, past these markings, then you want to brush and then start going over it. If you see the smoky ink that rejuvenation has, then you'll know you've done it successfully. If you don't, like carefully like draw some extra dots to make sure it doesn't recognize as any existing brush technique, and get a bit closer, like do another green hop and then brush again. If you don't draw the dots, then you're at risk for your technique being recognized as something, which will lock you out of the brush. Like your attempt to rejuvenate will be recognized as a technique, which will lock you out of the brush briefly, which can cause you to slip down the mountain, which you don't want to happen. So from here, like I said, just continue green hopping with inner camera, and then once you get like here, I would say you could rejuvenate, maybe a bit closer. But let's say you slip down the mountain a bit. You don't want to hit the water, because if you hit the water you have to restart. You just drown and you'll start back over. But if you're like, if you got here and you like weren't above the dark spot, or you slipped down the mountain during the 4th panel, and you're like around here, you can still save the trick. The fastest way to do that is actually to get over laterally where you need to be to rejuvenate. But you can't rejuvenate from down here. We need to gain a bit of height. Unfortunately, if you're like in this area and you try to green hop up, you won't really gain much height because you slip down the mountain faster over here for some reason. But over here, there's an area where you can slip a bit slower and gain some height, although it'll take a lot of tries, and it does require very good green hops in order to gain height quickly. So at this point, it's basically a test of, can you maintain good timing on your green hops for long enough in order to gain enough height to get the rejuvenation? Because you really don't gain much height doing this. But once you're about here, I would say, drag the camera up closer to the statue, and then you should be able to rejuvenate. And if you did it correctly, and I tried to be very conservative with it, I draw a lot of ink, then you should catch it, and then you just want to mash skip. And then you need to do this constellation quickly or you'll drown and you'll get soft locked. Because you're still moving at this point, and Ami will slip down the mountain into the water. At this point, try to time it so that you hit the lightning. Unfortunately, it's on a cycle and you can get unlucky with it. But at this point, you've done Oni Island skip. Like, you're good. At this point, the rest of the dungeon's a lot easier, and there's only a few more really hard tricks in the run. As soon as the lightning appears here, we can do this. Now, there's a lot of rotating bridges in Oni Island, and the thing that's true about pretty much all of them is their underside is not solid, so you can jump through them. And that saves a bit of time here. Then just go into here. Right away here, we're going to want to brush, and then unlock this chest, which contains an Excel. Then while it's still falling, you can blow up the floor there with a cherry bomb. And we're going to want to jump towards the right, about 90 degrees. And then that'll put you right in front of the scroll there. Hit this trigger. Isun's going to talk about the key. Jump and then grab the key, and then Isun's going to talk about it again. Exclamation point, question mark. From here, just jump, pretty much hugging the right side so that this flower recognizes it a bit quicker. Make sure you grab this flower and then zoom over to it. On your way there, you can unlock this door. From here, there's a fight trigger that's right in front of this door, so we're going to want to, similar to the fight skip that we did, or one of the fight skips we did in Oni Island, we're going to take an immediate left out of this door and then jump around the trigger. Unfortunately, I hit the trigger because I didn't hug the wall well enough. If this happens, just use the same combo we've been using the whole time here. And that's not necessary, but you can do it. You don't really have to hug the wall too tightly, but I was a bit too aggressive with how inward to the wall I was doing. Just make sure you like jump around here and try to get over. Once we're in this maze of sliding doors, the pattern here is pretty specific, but you can do it very quickly. So just review the video after I've done this. And you should end up here at the cracked wall. recognition. Don't pick up that key, you don't need it, and just run straight into this trigger. And this is the last good time to upgrade your wallet. So you're going to want to do it right about now. Upgrade your wallet, then without letting go of start, I messed that up, use an XL. And then use a GS loop. These enemies are poltergeists. We actually skipped the initial fight with them earlier, but their floral finisher animation is actually a lot faster than their normal death animation, so we use the floral finisher to make them die faster. It's similar to the Krotengu that we fought when we fought the cutters. They die a lot faster when you hit them. These guys are similar. Right here, wait a fraction of a second after the cutscene ends, and then we're going to open up that chest there, but we're not going to get it right away. Instead, we're going to talk to this merchant, and all we're going to buy is the maximum number of XLs we can afford. Just press up a few times. You should be able to afford 9 or 10 here, then get out of there. You should be able to make it to this Infinity Stone on time, then jump. Before this set of pillars, go into first person camera by holding the camera button here, and then thunderstorm this statue. If you go past those pillars, you'll hit a cutscene where Isun talks about the statue, and that cutscene has a pretty long camera pan, so we want to avoid that. And we're just going to head downstairs and then jump into this. Isun's going to talk about it. And then real quick, we're just going to want to power slash them, turn around, use R3 to get the camera behind you, and then power slash this one. R3 being pressing in the right analog stick. And this starts the 2D segment, or the side scroller as I call it. The segment isn't actually 2D, you can move back and forth a bit, which can mess some things up, but it's not a big deal. Once this comes into view, just thunderstorm it, and then tackle jump off this bridge. From here we can actually skip this bridge with a precise jump, if you do it correctly. Like so. It's not too important to do it, you are on a cycle here anyway, but it's just a bit cool looking. From here we want to jump as this sharp bridge gets horizontal. Then we should be able to do this. Once you get up here, the center of the screen is automatically in line with this, so just draw a power slash straight to the left from center. And then grab this key. Then we're just going to fall down as quickly as we can. If you made the cycle perfectly, you'll be able to get over this bridge and on the other side before it goes all the way up. Otherwise, you'll just have to wait down here. And just do something like that to get under it. From here, you can do this kind of wall jump in order to get past. And we can do that again here, but the positioning is rather precise. So you might end up having that happening. From here you want to stand somewhere close to the center and wait for the openings to show up. If the opening is like about to close, you can actually power slash any of these discs to stop them temporarily, like so. So you might want to do that to make hitting the cycles a bit easier. But ideally you wouldn't have to do that to any of them if you made the cycle perfectly. And then this last one we can just get over. And now we're at floor 4. So this is a pretty challenging segment to do perfectly, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of tricks here. So we're just going to grab this key and then we're going to go left, avoiding the staircase. From here we can skip a cutscene by doing this kind of tackle jump up to here. The cutscene trigger is up these stairs basically, and it's not a very long camera pan, but we can avoid it. So we can save about a second by doing that. From here we want to do a jump straight up to these platforms, and then we want to get past this spider. Basically, use your better judgment for how to get past it. If you get hit, there's a decent chance you'll fall into the room below, and you'll hit a fight trigger. The fight trigger has a couple guardian enemies, and they can take a while to defeat, so I would recommend actually using one of your XLs here. You don't need all of them, you should be fine without them, and it's a lot faster than fighting those enemies manually. But say if you were really low on money, you might want to do that. From here, we want to wait until the spider swings into this position, And then we want to do a tackle jump like so. I made a mistake. So unfortunately I'm going to have to do that over again because I messed up the wall jump. Without falling down. Once again, wait, someone swings into position. And then wall bounce off this wall with that kind of jump. And then vine to this flower here. Be careful that you get the vine to connect correctly, because otherwise you'll hit the fight trigger below because you won't have enough time to vine again. From here we want to tackle jump over to here. There's a few ways you can line this up. This method is the method that Cookie originally described. Make sure you have inner camera, not outer camera. Base the camera down and make sure it's roughly in line, such that the bottom of the screen is in line with the bottom of this platform or these platforms, whichever happens to be a better marker for you. So right now it's just a bit facing like in this direction rather than perfectly along the wall. Drag it all the way down, and then unbrush, brush, and then drag to the right and then up in the top corner. And you should end up in a position somewhere around here where like the camera is partially clipped into the wall. From there, unbrush, brush again, and you should be able to just clip the camera through the wall. At that point, you can just put a cherry bomb on the other side of the wall, and now we're at the end of the dungeon. Try not to fall down here because you'll hit another fight trigger. From here, now that this is the final Toby race, we actually skipped every Toby race except the very last one. We can just tackle onto the switch. As soon as you hit it, vine over here, and it's possible that you'll get stuck on this wall and the vine will like pull you up. At that point you can try vining again and you might be able to just barely still beat Toby to the end, but there's a good chance you'll fail the Toby fight, so you'll just have to jump back over across this room again. So that's what happened to me here, so let's see if I can still make the Toby fight. Unfortunately I got stuck a second time, so we're just gonna try that again. I don't know exactly how to consistently avoid getting stuck on the wall there. There's a few different methods people try, like running to the right first, but I've gotten stuck regardless, so I don't think there's a consistent way to avoid it. Once you hit the flower, just immediately air tackle and you'll get through the door. You can optionally pick up Toby's money here. It's only about 15k, so it doesn't make a huge difference. And then just run across the bridge. From here, if you don't have full health, you may want to hit the save mirror, but it's not a big deal. This fight isn't that hard. At the top of this staircase, we're going to jump, and then jump again over to here. Then mash confirm again, and we're just going to jump into the actual fight trigger. There's a constellation here. This one's not too bad. You can put a star right in the center right away. Yeah, you can see it's pretty jank sometimes, constellation recognition. As soon as this fight starts, this is going to apply in general, but she can cancel out your brush techniques, among other things, and use her own. So don't spend too much time in the brush. Basically, as soon as she starts running towards you, put a cherry bomb in front of her to stun her. Once you've stunned her, she'll approach you and then do a roar. At this point, you can immediately just thunderstorm her, and then you're going to walk to the left of her facing direction so that you get next to this particular enemy, which is a basically Ninetales separates into various spirits, and in both halves there's two special spirits that aren't like the others. In this half there's a like a larger, fatter spirit which has a lot of health, which I call the Grandma spirit. And in the second half, there's going to be a sickly old man spirit, which I call the Grandpa spirit. Either way, for this first phase, we're going to want to use 2 XLs because the Grandma spirit has a lot of health. Alternatively, you can use your sub-weapon to kill it faster. Try not to get hit here, but you might still happen. Draw a cherry bomb in front of her. She should dash into you. And then, once again, thunderstorm, separate into 2 spirits. Get behind her this time, roughly around here, and then just power slash the old man, and then use 1 XL, and that should kill everyone. 1 XL will kill all the spirits except the special spirits, but the Gemma Spirit requires more than one power slash to make up for the difference. From here, just use 4 exorcism slips. Alternatively, you can save an exorcism slip by doing, say, sub-weapon once or twice. Which I'll do here since I got hit and I want to make sure I have enough money. But you can just use 4 and you'll usually be fine. From here, we don't want to save. And then after this, there'll be just Waka. And that's the entirety of Oni Island. That's about all I wanted to cover in this segment, so I'll stop it off here. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask in the comments on my Twitter or in the Okami Speedrunning Discord, I'll link below. Don't be afraid to consult the text version of this guide, and you can see the rest of this guide via the playlist, also linked in the description. Ciao.